In your slide, I noticed that the failure pattern is frequently noticed, especially among those patients treated with esophageal cancer is the main cause of failure, especially in the situation with even with early cases, they still failed. So, are there any strategy to reduce the failure in the esophagus condition? This is the first question. The second question will be: I noticed that if you use cisplatin monotherapy, the response is not as good. So, are there any solution or any recommendation add another not so toxic treatment or reduce the dose of chemotherapy? And also the third question will be how do you define, for example, oropharynx and hypopharynx versus cervical esophagus? If in a junction, how do we define it is due to failure from hypopharynx or oropharynx or esophagus, especially with those nodes that you don't know where it is from. So those are my three questions.
So your first question is about the solution of the solution to treat the esophageal reduce the total failure. Yeah, I think it's relating to your second question. As I showed in my speech, the cisplatin monotherapy, I think it's too weak for the esophageal cancer. But of course, we know the cisplatin plus 5-FU regimen will cause the severe mucositis for the head and neck region. So, exactly speaking, the cisplatin monotherapy was chosen in our institute. So now we discussed with the head and neck surgeon, Dr. Masuda, right now. So we insisted that cisplatin monotherapy is too weak for us in esophageal cancer, because in case with the advanced head and neck cancer and the early esophageal cancer, and if we fail the treatment, the patient will die. That cause of the death in esophageal cancer, even with the early cancer. So now we are using cisplatin plus 5-FU regimen for both of the cancers. So now I am expecting the early esophageal cancer can save. That's my expectation. We have no data about that. We are not accumulating the data right now. And if we use the cisplatin monotherapies, cisplatin plus 5-FU regimens, we don't have many treatment failure even in the head and neck cancer right now. So,
Talking about the completion of radiotherapy, I noticed your slide 93%,
yeah, right.
and 18 people received cisplatin plus 5-FU, which means even in those patients treated with 5-FU plus cisplatin, your treatment completion of radiotherapy is still high. So I'm not sure. You mentioned about the 5-FU. Is that severe? The mucositis is so severe that it cannot go on, because you noted this 18% versus 13% patient, and the overall RT completion rate is 93% in your slide.
Yeah, we are trying to continue the radiation therapy first. Okay, as I showed in my slide, many people need the dose reduction of the chemotherapy, especially the cisplatin and 5-FU for both. Okay, many patients need dose reduction. But we want to continue the radiation therapy as much as possible.
So your recommendation for the dose reduction will be range, or are there any idea about thinking minimally invasive esophagectomy to replace treatment for esophagus? I mean, maybe you have 60% patients belong to early stage. Have you considered that those kind of patients you just take the esophagus out and leave the upper part, head neck cancer to chemoradiotherapy? Have you ever considered about that?
Sorry, I didn't catch it. Could you?
So for both sides, you use chemoradiotherapy, and you have even with early esophageal cancer, you have high local recurrence rate in the esophagus. Have you ever considered the esophagus to be resected in order to improve the failure? I mean the tumor control.
I see. Yeah, that's another way to treat such a cases. But we in clinical stage 1 esophageal cancers have that means submucosal cancers without any metastasis by the imaging examination. But in Japan, about submucosal cancer shows about 30 or 40% rate of metastasis. So that's why we are doing the very extensive lymph node dissection. We call it the 3-field lymph node dissection. So if the cancer is in clinical stage 1, we think it's an advanced cancer. So if clinical stage 0 cancers, we can of course use the endoscopic resection. Okay, but if superficial widespread stage 0 cancers cannot dissected by the endoscopic resection, so we chose that radiation chemoradiotherapy for that.
Professor Paul, I'm Dorothy from Congo Memorial Hospital, this hospital. I have a request to you and all the audience here. And also I have 3 comments to Professor Lee. For you, I think so far I cannot see any good strategy for risk assessment or prediction the outcomes or even to set a good clinical path for these patients, as you mentioned. Yeah? We agree with that? So if that is the case, we have already started our genomic study since 2008. And so far we have accumulated more than 500 NGS data, including others genetic data. We found the data is pretty interesting. And we just doubt, is it possible to have the opportunity to have a meta-analysis with people here and in Japan, because the outcomes are quite different from Japan and our group. And also the instances are quite different. For example, we have only 1 case oral cancer, but we have a huge synchronous oral cancer. So I think the tumor biology must be different. I hear we should invite you all, including our friends from Japan. We think some reliable biomarkers are equally awaited before set patients' personal treatment plan, treatment path. So if it is possible, I wish that we can organize a consortium or team like that, and we will be very happy to do all the genomic data in our central lab. Our central lab is accredited by CAPE and by ISO. So after we finalize our data, we will send the original data to you and share all the data to the head neck society. I think at this moment, that's the only thing we need to think is to share data so that we can good for the patient. That is my first request. And I have three comments to Professor Lee. First of all, I think from your data from 1979 to 2006, I believe the synchronous must be underestimated. Your data always confined to upper aerodigestive areas, that is from mouth to esophagus. I believe the data is underestimated. And why you have the data only? Because they only have a pen endoscope to examine the second primary, and also they don't have a comprehensive whole body survey. That is very important point, so that you can see the poorest outcome in patients who have esophageal use. Okay, I agree with that, but because in our data we also show that, and later Professor Lia will show it to you. But remember, the outcome of esophageal cancer itself is very poor in Taiwan and worldwide. So how do you know the cause of this is because of second primary itself, or the cancer itself, or the event itself? So it's hard to say. Okay? I wish that we really can see the patient as a whole patient, not a truncated patient from oral to esophagus. So I think later in next section, Professor Lia will show you the data from one hospital, although one hospital, but we wish to show you the quite different view. Okay? Patient has actually has other synchronous tumor other than upper aerodigestive area in Taiwan. And the second comments is I don't believe the data of incidence of second primary is flat. There is no second primary after 5 years. From the field of cancellation and from our data, the incidence of second primary is very stable. Okay, not only from oral cavity but also from esophagus. The whole upper aerodigestive tract, the incidence of whole upper aerodigestive is very stable. Okay, so the instance, the figure, I'm not agree with you. Okay, and the third comment is about the SIR in each, the decrease of SIR with years. I truly believe the lower SIR with the years is because of the deaths of the patient over the years. So those with the survival over 5 years, of course, have good prognosis in the future, and I don't believe that the SIR will be decreased over the year. It must be some bias. So that's my comments. Maybe I'm wrong because I'm a radiologist, and I'm not a medical oncologist or surgical oncologist, but that's my point of view. Thank you very much.
I believe your comment is right, but we know that there is always a big bias between the population-based data and single institute data, especially the data from the third center, right? I think Lincoln China Memory Hospital is the referral center. So you're going to see many synchronous cases. You're going to see many metaphonous cases because these are very difficult. So I agree with you because when we do the literature research, all our data actually are correlate very well with the other population-based data in other countries, like Caucasian data. But there's a really big bias from the single institute data. But because we don't really only see the incidence of secondary, we use SIR. SIR is more accurate than incidence. In the China Memory Hospital, you only see the incidence, right? You follow up your head cancer patient every year, and you see the incidence of the second cancer, right? But it's not accurate. We use the SIR. SIR has to be adjusted according to the age and the calendar year of every calendar year of the normal population. Right. So I think this is a big difference between the single issue data and the nationwide database.
Professor Lee, I have a question. Just Professor Yan mentioned that in your data, the second esophageal cancer, the 5-year survival rate was less than 10%. So it was similar to the primary esophageal cancer.
No. Can you see the slide? We did a comparison between the last
cancers. So the data with esophageal cancer become the determinant.
This is a very quick question. I think usually when we find the second esophageal cancer, I mean we have many surgeons, many surgical oncology, medical oncology. Usually the head neck cancer has not been cured yet, and then the patient develops a second esophageal cancer. Will you do surgery for the esophageal cancer? I mean,
I have a quick comment. Since you have SIR to adjust the data, why not use propensity scoring match to adjust to primary
往上，往上。
The treatment outcome of primary esophageal cancer and the second.
刚才那一张。
Top of mind. No, top of mind.
在下。
Yeah, this
Yeah,
one.
you're right. Okay. You use several times SIR to adjust your data. If we compare two different groups for their survivals, inclusion patients are very important. I believe you did not use any propensity scoring match test to compare these two groups. Why I say that? Because second esophageal cancer, I think, sometimes delay diagnosis. Okay, so the population will be worse, generally worse than the primary. It's no wonder why
Professor Yan, during this study period, the cancer register format in Taiwan is a short form, not long form. So the data is not, the stage data and the treatment data is not very reliable during this period. But now the data now is very reliable during the recent 5 years.
That's why I totally agree with you, because the data was from 1979. So if the original data is not very clean, okay, how can you use SIR to adjust the original true data?
Well, rough estimation is okay. Yes.
I'm Dr. Zhang, medical oncology from China.
人家那个 DNA 的那个 genomic 还没
Yeah, I think today we discussion in the success topic will major focus on the treatment of symptoms metachronous. But from our discovery speaker, Professor Troy Lee, I think the epidemiology data is reflect that age, not this moment. As Professor was probably in that moment, in head neck cancer in previous in Taiwan's trial outcome is not so good. So from the data which we saw the data in my very early beginning, when we managed my head neck cancer, the patient always present advanced head neck cancer and die within 1-2 years. After we improve our surgeon concurrent chemoradiotherapy, the patient have a long-term survival up to 5, even to 10 years. So now you can count the multiple cancer comes out. Originally, we just see one disease. After that, we see 2, 3, 4 head neck cancer from tongue, hypophyte, lung, so far. So I think the epidemiology data is conflict. It is a reflect that moment. I think the major meaningful for us is after you diagnose first head neck cancer, you should watch out within 1 year. Other second prime may be present. And the retrospect we saw, it means during we diagnose first head neck, we should screen for the second prime. I think the major meaningful for us, the epidemiology data is this, not SIR is the statistics not accurate so far. So from Professor Toyo's data, as we see, if the patient have head neck cancer, once the patient have although have synchronous or metachronous esophageal cancer, if the esophageal is early, always outcome is better. But once the esophageal cancer always comes late, as our clinical experience. However, the head neck cancer or double cancer, the outcome always is small. So I think the policy at present for us, although it is treat the double cancer always sophisticated, complicated, and not so good outcome. So our effort, I think, is the strategies. Once we diagnose head neck cancer in the very beginning, how do we design the strategy to screen second primary and take it out at the same time? That I think is major issue. So today in the following section we will discuss many complicated, but I think our efforts should be from a very beginning, including Professor said decide the early screening of second cancer. I think Professor Liao will present. I think it's a recent data in Chang'e Memorial Hospital. We have beware of head neck cancer. We should screen for the second primary cancer so we can deal with the second primary cancer early, so we have good outcome. So the other one is we probably needed to study of the genetic difference. Is another issue of take a high risk population, and we design a strategy for screening. It's a matter of effort.
I'm Joseph Chen from Chang'e Memorial Hospital, Linkou, and I'm so welcome you attend this meeting because I'm the chairman of this department, this building. Yeah, it's 20 years of head neck radiation oncology, and I follow my patient at least yearly CT scan for my head neck patient. Maybe I can say that the concept of all oncology changed after 2006. Yeah, because the introduction for the PET or PET CT scan and the so-called whole body CT scan. All right, before the 2005, during the follow, what's even the staging and the follow, what's the modality? Head neck CT scan, chest X-ray, no whole body image, no endoscope as a staging in Taiwan. Right? Yeah. So if you during your study period, but in this era, yeah, most the medical center for the head neck cancer, especially for the pharyngeal cancer like hypopharyngeal cancer, most the medical center oncologists will consider about the head neck CT scan or head neck MRI in Taiwan. Second, most of the center in Taiwan will consider about the PET CT scan for staging, and including pen endoscope to detect the second primary. So the situation will change. Also in the follow-up modality for head neck cancer, during this month of the whole nationwide special oncologist for head neck in hypopharyngeal cancer, we have the so-called consensus guideline from PCOG. We suggest that pen endoscope should be considered in the annual follow-up for the hypopharyngeal cancer. Yeah. So I beg your effort, yeah, to see the data. For the national registration data after the 2006 to now, maybe it is a very excellent cohort in Taiwan registry. You can see the difference. So the effort is all the effort for the medical staff in this island, because they put their effort to do the best for this kind of patient and change. I think they will change the pattern. The survival difference from this curve, I think the major is the stage, because before the 2006, almost all the esophageal cancer is is fine from patient because they suffer from severe dysphagia. And the physician will consider about, oh, maybe you have the esophageal cancer. But right now, no. All the head and neck cancer oncologists, including the ENT head and neck surgeon, including radiation oncologist, including medical oncologist, when the patient complain about the dysphagia, I think a lot of the oncologists will consider about, yeah, maybe patient have the esophageal cancer. Yeah, but this is concept change. This is a modality change. This is a healthcare change in this island. Yeah, so I bet your effort to see the next decade for data in Taiwan. Yeah, that's my comment.
Okay, I want to tell you the screening method in Japan. So we are doing the pan endoscopy annually, at least once a year. So we are using we recently used the NBI, narrowband imaging. It's very good method to check the early esophageal cancer as well as the early stage of the pharyngeal cancer. So it's very easy. So we ordered and we asked the GI endoscopist to check the pharyngeal or laryngeal regions as well as in the remnant stomach and gastric tube. So we can use, we often find those cancers as in the very early stage. So we can save the patient. So that's the most important thing to the 5-year survival bed to make the survival.
Can I have comments? So I'm head and neck surgeon, so from bladder cancer. I understand cancer center. So I would like to talk about my experiences. So 20 years ago, so when patient developed metacolon cancer, the survival rate poor. So but the situation changed drastically recently, probably 5 to 10 years. So now the treatment result of advanced head and neck cancer improved probably up to 50%, things like that in Japan. So now we are now very conscious about second esophageal cancer. So we recommend them to receive periodical endoscopy. And so now, as Dr. said, now we have very advanced technique like NBI, so we can find so most of these drugs in very early, probably T and very early cases, so stage 0. So they can cure by endoscopy. So now I don't think so the second esophageal cancer has so great impact to when they are found second cancer. So now, so we think now so our concept our feeling is that second esophageal cancer is curable disease in Japan. That's my comment.
Also depend on stage, right?
Thank you for. I have a question for Dr. Cho. I really appreciate for your very informative and comprehensive evaluation and speak. Actually, I followed this head and neck surgeon's view from 2009 till now. Yeah, we have a lot of tools, including the MRI imaging. We can notice a lot of early pharyngeal cancer after the treatment of the esophageal cancer. So we think after that period, a lot of more conservative surgical modality is suggested by a lot of laryngologists and head and neck surgeons, and we can modify our survival much better until 2009. I have a question for Dr. Zhou. From your slide, I noticed the high complete rate after the radiation therapy for synchronous esophageal and pharyngeal cancer. But I noted you set the dose of radiation as the 50 centigrade I don't know is it enough for esophageal cancer, but I'm really sure it's not enough for head and neck cancer. But based on your data, you have very few pharyngeal failure cases. So I don't know why. Can you explain that interesting point?
Yeah.
So you mean the head and neck surgeon want over 70 gray?
Yep.
For the head and neck cancer?
Yep.
Yeah. We're using the 60 gray for the esophageal cancer, so I don't have the exact answer to your question, but
That's my answer. That's fine.
我们不能在一个 session 里把所有的问题都讨论完，等一下就没东西可讨论了哈。所以我宁可在这个地方，我想我们还有很多的 discussion session 哦。
我对比他的回答 I give you my suggestion. It's betel nut.
We should not finish all the discussion within one session. We should
Different carcinogen.
No. Sorry, I'm a radiation oncologist, so I need as many of this comment as a final. I do believe as a radiation oncologist for the CCRT case, for the synchronous head and neck cancer and the esophageal cancer, for the head and neck region, yeah, the radiation oncologist will deliver it for 70 grade, maybe around, to cure the so-called head and neck cancer. And for the esophageal part, because worry about the structure, so now most the radiation oncologists will not deliver to more than 60 grade. Do you agree? All the radiation oncologists here, right? Around 50 to 60 grade to the esophagus. So the same 1 centimeter region or more than that. Of course, you can see the difference. Not only for the regimen of the chemotherapy, but also the radiation dose for the radiation. Yeah, the 10 to 20 grade difference will reflect your result. To see the difference for poor control for esophagus and the better control for the head and neck.
Okay, so we need to close this session. And 谢谢，我们有一个非常好的讨论。我们10:15再回到这里来继续。